Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, the most toxic love story in Hollywood. Did you know that the defamation trial between Johnny Depp and Amber Heard became one of the most watched courtroom battles in modern history, garnering over 1 billion views across social platforms? That's not just celebrity gossip, that's cultural obsession on steroids. What began as a whirlwind romance between two Hollywood A-listers quickly unraveled into a spectacle of lawsuits, leaked audio, career fallout, and some of the most polarizing public reactions we've ever seen in the entertainment world. So buckle up, because it's time to explore the top chapters that turned this relationship into a cautionary tale watched around the world. The fairy tale beginning. When Johnny Depp and Amber Heard first met on the set of The Rum Diary, it felt like the classic tale of on-screen chemistry turning into real-life romance. Depp, the legendary icon with decades of fame under his belt, and Heard, the rising starlet with beauty and brains, looked like a power couple in the making. Their red carpet appearances were filled with glamour and whispers of destiny, but as we now know, behind the curtain was a storm quietly brewing. Friends and insiders described early signs of volatility, mood swings, jealousy, controlling behaviors, and a relationship that escalated way too quickly. And let's be real, we've all seen couples who seem too good to be true. Sometimes, fast flames burn the most destructively. The secret wedding and whispers of control. In 2015, Depp and Heard got married in a private ceremony that was oddly low-key for two such high-profile stars. And while the headlines showed happy faces, the reality behind closed doors was allegedly far darker. Reports surfaced later claiming that the relationship quickly became possessive and erratic. Heard reportedly kept tight control over Depp's personal life, while Depp in turn spiraled into substance use and isolation. Imagine being on a honeymoon and already feeling like you're walking on eggshells. That's how insiders described it. It's like being trapped in a luxury prison. The secrecy of their marriage wasn't romantic. It was a red flag waving high. The first public accusations. Everything changed in 2016 when Amber Heard filed for divorce and a restraining order against Johnny Depp, alleging physical abuse. The images she presented, bruises, spread like wildfire across tabloids and social media. Depp's fans were shocked. The media was divided. And Hollywood went into crisis mode. Suddenly, one of the most beloved actors in cinematic history was being painted as a monster. But this wasn't a simple case of he said, she said. There were audio recordings, text messages, conflicting statements, and a long, messy trail of emotional carnage. Many people immediately took sides, even though the truth was far from black and white. The libel trial in the UK. Fast forward to 2020, and we find ourselves in a British courtroom. Johnny Depp had sued a UK tabloid for labeling him a wife-beater. This wasn't just about clearing his name, it was about salvaging a legacy. Over 14 days, the trial exposed deeply personal, and at times deeply disturbing, details about their relationship. Texts about burning Heard's body, photos of trashed hotel rooms, and accusations of substance-fueled violence were all laid bare. And despite Depp's passionate defense, he lost. The judge ruled that the paper's claims were substantially true. The fallout? Depp was asked to resign from Fantastic Beasts, and his career took a serious hit. And let's be honest, no matter what side you were on, watching someone's life unravel in slow motion was uncomfortable. The explosive US trial. If the UK trial was devastating, the 2022 US defamation trial was straight out of a Hollywood thriller. Televised live, the courtroom became a global stage. TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, everyone became an expert on defamation law overnight. Amber Heard accused Depp of horrific abuse. Depp countersued, alleging she was the abuser and that her op-ed cost him his career. And while the legal complexities were dense, what stood out were the unforgettable moments, the tearful testimonies, the wild allegations, and yes, even the infamous poop-in-the-bed story. It was surreal. At times tragic, at times bizarre, and always deeply human. And while the jury eventually ruled in Depp's favor, the damage to both their lives was undeniable. Career fallout and public rebranding. Both actors emerged from the trial bruised, though not equally. Depp's victory sparked a career revival, including a standing ovation at Cannes. Heard, meanwhile, moved to Spain and stepped back from Hollywood. It was as if the industry didn't know what to do with her anymore. Brands dropped her, social media turned hostile, and suddenly, the woman who once stood alongside Jason Momoa in Aquaman was being digitally erased from trailers. This kind of cancel culture whiplash highlights just how volatile public opinion can be. One day you're a feminist icon, the next you're trending for all the wrong reasons. It's not just about right or wrong anymore, it's about how fast a narrative can shift. The internet's role in the chaos. If there was a third character in this saga, it was the internet. Memes, TikToks, live streams. The Depp v. Heard trial was dissected in real time by millions. Creators turned courtroom clips into parody. Fans treated testimonies like episodes of a true crime podcast. And while some argued it was justice served, others pointed out the toxic voyeurism and gender bias and how the story was told. For better or worse, the digital age turned a deeply personal trauma into entertainment. And here's the scary part. When trauma becomes content, empathy often gets lost in the algorithm. The internet didn't just watch, it shaped the narrative, and it made a complicated story even harder to understand objectively. The audio tapes that changed everything. In 2020, leaked audio recordings surfaced, and they completely shifted the tide of public opinion. In these tapes, Amber Heard could be heard admitting to hitting Johnny Depp and seemingly downplaying the severity of their fights. At one point, she even taunted him about how no one would believe he was a victim because he was a man. The internet erupted. For many, this was a rare and raw piece of evidence that suggested the narrative wasn't as one-sided as it first. People started to see Depp not just as an alleged abuser, but possibly as a victim of emotional and physical abuse himself. It cracked open a wider conversation about how society treats male victims of domestic violence. Mutual destruction when love turns into war. One of the most disturbing truths to come out of the Depp-Heard saga is just how mutually destructive the relationship was. According to court testimonies, they both engaged in violent arguments, cruel insults, and manipulative behavior. This wasn't a case of one clear villain and one innocent hero. It was two deeply damaged people trapped in a spiraling power struggle. Depp admitted to substance abuse. Heard admitted to being physically aggressive. Friends, therapists, and staff testified about the chaos that followed them everywhere. It became obvious this was a relationship where love had curdled into something poisonous. And for anyone who's ever been in a relationship like that, where you lose parts of yourself trying to save something broken, it hit hard. The sad reality is that sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes it becomes the very thing that consumes you. The final word, or is it? Even after the trial, the appeals, and the media fallout, it still feels like there's no closure. Amber has since settled, Johnny is trying to move on, and yet the public fascination hasn't faded. Documentaries are still being made, Reddit threads are still active, the narrative still evolves, and maybe that's the real tragedy here. There is no final word. This wasn't just a breakup. It was a slow, mapped cultural implosion where everyone watching walked away with a different version of the truth. And maybe that's why we can't stop talking about it, because deep down, we're all trying to make sense of a story that defies simple answers. If you've made it this far, thank you for staying with us through such a raw and complex journey. If this video made you think, reflect, or feel something, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to Scandal Files